Good afternoon, everyone. We are starting the plenary session 1 now, and I would like to invite the chairperson and the speakers of this event. I would like to invite Dr. S.K. Nanda, IS retired, to the podium. I would like to invite Professor Dr. Biplav Loha Chaudhary, Professor V.L. Dharurkar, and Dr. I. Arul Aram into the dais. A very good afternoon, everyone. I am Dr. Amrita Chakrabarti, Assistant Professor of Mass Communication from Pandit Dindayal Energy University in Gandhinagar, Gujarat, and it is indeed a privilege to be moderating the first plenary session of the 6th National Media Conclave 2022, and it is only just that the theme of this session is cultural pluralism, Indian society and media. Just as you might have noted, the theme is an eclectic mixture of some rather potent words: culture, pluralism, Indian society and media. At the periphery, it might seem that the words do not really gel. Well, one cannot be any further from the reality. A careful glance, and it is not too difficult to spot the connection. While it is indeed tempting to go deeper, I shall stop at creating the curiosity among you, as some of the biggest media skulls would be doing the needful. We know that culture is the collective expression of a society's idea, custom, and social behavior. However, in a country as varied as India, cultural modes change at every milestone. If there is any one thing that truly characterizes the composite Indian society, it is the cultural pluralism. It is thus the intrinsic to the collective Indian ethos. Alternatively, cultural pluralism in the Indian social context makes no sense unless we also talk about the media and its role in either promoting it or hindering it. Hopefully, now that I have cleared the deck, we can go ahead and listen to the experts throwing critical light on the theme. Beginning the August session, Dr. S.K. Nanda, IS retired, will grace the audience. Dr. Nanda is a noted administrator, writer, thinker, and humanist. He has been a very senior Indian administrative service officer and has held distinguished position for the government of Gujarat during his career. During his stint with the government, Dr. Nanda successfully oversaw key government departments including health, tourism, information and broadcasting, finance, food and civil supply, and forest and environment. He specializes in management and administration, finance, health, etc. Dr. Nanda has contributed many articles on the professional importance and has authored books as well. And he has bagged many awards, including the commendation from the Prime Minister's office for his excellent work in health sector after 2002 riot. He has been the recipient of many awards during the span of his distinguished career. After active civil services, Dr. Nanda has been involved in various sectors such as tribal development, girl-child environment, scout organization, ham radio, and propagation of arts and culture. Dr. Nanda has also been mentoring the Ahmedabad International Literature Festival on various issues since its early days. Welcome, Dr. Nanda. Next, I would like to invite and introduce Professor V.L. Dharurkar, former UGC Emeritus Professor and former Vice Chancellor of Central University of Tripura. Professor Vijay Kumar L. Dharurkar is a former Vice Chancellor of the Central University of Tripura and UGC Emeritus Professor in Mass Communication and Journalism 2016 to 2018. He submitted a report on the topic Critical Communication in Ajanta and Ellora Caves. He is a product of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Marathwada University. He was a gold medalist and a rank holder in Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Journalism, and Master of Arts. His research work was based on art iconography and mass communication through Ellora Caves, a case study of Jain temple. He has visited the USA in 1991-95, Australia 1992, Italy 1993, and Germany in 1995 for presenting papers in international conferences. He also chaired a session at Philadelphia University and he chaired 2 sessions at Bonn and Berlin University on the eve of the Theory-Culture Society conference in August 1995. He was invited by UNESCO to present a paper on energy communication at the 2nd International Symposium on the topic of energy-saving campaigns and public acceptance in Indian mass media. He received a Young Scientist Career Award in 1994 from UGC, and he has also received a Lifetime Achievement Award in 2007 from the Bombay Union of Journalists. IBC Cambridge declared him among the 100 educationalists of the world in 2007 and 2011. He has been included in the list of 500 Harvard Social Scientists of Asia. He has also worked as a professor, director of School of Liberal Arts, and also worked as a director for the International Quality Assurance Cells of Dr. B.A.M. University. He has many publications, including a book on the journalism and mass communication to his credit. Welcome, Professor Bhubaneswar. Next, I would like to introduce to you Professor Dr. Biplab Chaudhary, who is currently a professor at the Center of Journalism and Mass Communication under Vishwabharati University in West Bengal. Besides, he has worked in various administrative capacities in his long and distinguished career with 2 central universities and the government of West Bengal. He is a trainer in communication research, health management, and development communication. His current research interest spans developing communities from within, audience creator matchmaking, Indian communication and research traditions, and policy review. He has been to 11 countries in Asia and Europe, including a teaching stint in Corvinus University at Budapest on creative Indian and European communication and keynote assignment on several foreign universities. He is currently the chief editor of International Journal of Peace, Education and Development. He has several publications such as books, invited papers, journal articles, project reports, consultancy reports, etc., and invited lectures, talks to his credit. He is also a distinguished member of various academic committees, and he was country director India for the Asian Congress for Media and Communication for 2 terms. Welcome, Professor Chaudhary. And the last address will be provided by Professor Dr. I. Arun Aram, who is currently a professor and head of the Department of Media Sciences under Anna University in Chennai. He was the director of UGC's Educational Multimedia Research Center (EMMRC) during 2010 and 2010 to 2011, and he also heads the Anna Community Radio, India's first community radio station. Under his leadership, Anna Community Radio got the National Award for Best Communication Practice. He served as the Vice President South for Community Radio Association, and he was the Additional Director for the Center for Faculty Development in 2019-20. And he was the coordinator of Master of Science MSc Science and Technology Communication Program offered with the support of the Department of Science and Technology. He also got the Best Program Officer Award in the National Service Scheme. He was formerly the Chief Sub-Editor with the Hindu in Chennai and New Delhi. And he has also served as the President of Madras Press Club. His area of specialization and research interests include environmental communication, peace journalism, science communication, and climate change communication. Without Any further ado, let us now listen to Dr. S.K. Nanda. Sir, over to you.
Thank you, Amrita. So, after formal welcome of Amrita, there is no need of again welcoming all the dignitaries of the dais and of the dais. So, I have a small information to our session chair, Dr. S.K. Nanda. Since we have 3 speakers, so we will keep 15 minutes each. So after that, we will go for Q&A, and after that, session chair speaks. So we should 10 to 15. Okay. Yes, you are right. That is the prerogative of the session chair. And I hope all of our speakers, panel speakers on the dais, they should follow. And immediately, as per the schedule we have issued, immediately after the over of this session, we will go for the next session. Thank you.
This is a very interesting session today in the main hall of your kids campus here, organized by our Media Foundation people, particularly due to the initiative taken by Mr. Padi. Lot of things have been done in a very short time. Now most of the people who are here, they may not be knowing the implications, the meaning of cultural pluralism. They may not be knowing that why we are fixing media with culture and culture with media. These questions must be coming in your mind. Let me tell you, it is very simple. Before the speakers they come and give their own points, which will be, as Mr. Padi says, between 10 to 15 minutes. There will be an interjection session because, so that in case the ideas are floating in your mind, you can ask them questions. That will be another 3 to 4 minutes. But let me introduce the subject before these people take over. 1. Cultural pluralism is nothing but a sum total of all materials, ideas, images, artifacts, thinking power, traditions, rituals, and system of beliefs followed in a particular geographical territory. And it will be having definitely contradictions. It will be having diversity. It will be having so many other things. Go to the south, it will be Onam tradition. Go to the north, it will be a different tradition. Go to the east, the New Year falls on different day, Vaisakhi Purnima. For Gujaratis, it falls on Diwali. So each one has got a new year, each one has got a beginning. But they all stay with all contradictions. There is no fixed day that this is the date for India. So this is the cultural pluralism. Some people they worship Shiva, some people they worship not Shiva, they worship Krishna, they worship Kartikeya. Some people in the south they go for different puja. That doesn't mean that they are not having any belief. The contradictions within the contradictions. In India also there are a lot of dishes which are eaten by a lot of people. So intra-contradictions are there. So that is the beauty of the cultural pluralism. And this cultural pluralism has been an endemic feature, a permanent and a perennial feature of Indian tradition, because the sages, the hermits, and the Vedas and the Sanskrit with which the entire civilization started, they have bound from Telugu and Tamil to Kashmir. If Kashmir is known for the best of Sanskrit, Telugu is also known for the best of Sanskrit. If east of India, that is Jagannath is known for the best of the temples, Dwarka is also the main of the temples. So the point I wanted to mention is that you will have a lot of diversity, a lot of contradictions. There is no competition. There is a adjustment. This is the beauty of India. Even if one son in the family says, I don't want to go to temple, he doesn't become a non-Hindu. No. He says, I don't want to go to temple. I want to just pray God in my house, in my pot. So you will see a lot of people there doing God's just on the front of the balcony, they keep their gods. They privatize the gods in their own houses. Everyone has got private. Wherever you are staying, you will be having some space for the gods. I'm sure. So each one is privatizing the gods. The selection of the gods, what is the menu card for the gods? You don't give all gods. You give the god which you want. So there is a diversity here. There is a pluralism here. Someone wants to give Hanuman, he gives Hanuman. Someone wants to give the Lakshmi, he wants to give Lakshmi. So that also is a freedom given to each and every one. So this is the beauty and the classical pluralism in which we live. Anything which is trying to affect this pluralism is anti-Indian. And media has got a role to play to see that this pluralism is protected. This pluralism is not suppressed, is not jettisoned. What happened was that when the Industrial Revolution took place, liberties took place, right to freedom started, Industrial Revolution came, and the global revolution took place in technology, people thought that pluralism will be coming back in a very big way because each one would be after his own job, each one will be connected with technology, each one will be connected with satellite, each one will be on his job. So all these problems of competition, envy, lust, contradictions would go away. But unfortunately, in most of the democracies which went into the globalization, they again started some kind of an ideological problem, like the ISIS in Arab deserts, like fundamentalists in some part of Russia or in China. Some fundamentalists have come up in also India. Despite the fact that we are on a modern path, despite the fact that we know that we are a culturally pluralistic society, still the idea and the ideology of competing, surpassing, dominating is still there. But see what is happening in Russia, see what is happening in China, the Uyghur rebels, see what is happening in different parts of Africa. Can we say that we are in a globally digitized world now? It's because of the fact that they are going away from pluralism. They are going away from tolerance. They are going away from adjustments. And that is the greatest feature of Indians, that we have always taken care of a street dog by giving milk to the mother at the beach, who was given birth to the litters, to the small puppies. So community gives the milk and the food to the beach in the village, that female dog. That is the kind of tradition we have. But we are going away. And the media has got this culture is our pluralism. And media has got a very big role in upholding that. We cannot publish the photographs of Adivasis who are naked women in the foreign journals to say that we are poor and hungry. Because most of the people in Andaman Nicobar also don't wear. It's a part of their life. That cannot be portrayed as the best photograph of the year. But journalism is doing it. Culture is deprived of. And the pluralism is being betrayed. So that is what exactly I wanted to mention. So we would, as Mr. Pari has said, we'll start with each speaker, 10 to 15 minutes. You can interview for 2 minutes. And it should go on, and at the end we will sum it up. Thank you. Can we start with journalism with you?
आफ्टर नंदा जी बोलना बहुत ही मुश्किल है, इसलिए मैं बोलूँगा नहीं. आई विल नॉट स्पीक एक्चुअली. आई विल नॉट स्पीक. व्हाट एवर कम्स दैट विल बी योर्स, एंड व्हाट एवर रॉन्ग इज विथ मी ओनली. The first point in multiculturalism, as we experience in India and as we read in books of different perspectives, there is a difference. There is a difference. In 2011-12, with National Center for Communal Harmony, Government of India, I had done a small project. Which identity we don? हम कौन सा आइडेंटिटी को पहन लेते हैं कौन सा टाइम में. I give you a small quiz. My surname is Loho Chaudhuri. Can you tell me which identities of mine are there? It's part of my culture. Can you tell me? I tell you, my ancestors were from Leh in Kashmir, and then we migrated to Trishal village in Uttarakhand. From there the Parashars went to 5 different streams. One stream went to Bengal in a place called Louhojong. It's a river port on river Padma. And so, to have these 2 places. Now there is an echo of Shama Charan Dubey, 1955. Shama Charan Dubey wrote, we Indians have 2 identities. One identity is village, which gives the villagers, despite having different identities, a commonness for which they fight. Much of the fight today we show as communal or sectarian or casteist are actually these village identity based fights at the lowest level, at the grassroots level. But our media misconstrues it, because our training in media and our training in sociology, our training in political economy, almost have not tried to understand it from the reality of the country. So what I found, we took, myself and one of my students, we took that identity tags of different people. But we found there are at least 10 identity tags we don at different situations. At different situations. Whether we are Hindu, Parsi, Buddhist, Jain, Muslim, Christian, anything. When I go to Europe for taking classes, I am a Hindu. My Muslim friend is also a Hindu. My Tamilian friend is also a Hindu. I am a Bengali, I am also a Hindu. To them, I am a Hindu. And it is very important for media to understand this nitty-gritty. But how it can? Because India's education has been in reductionist approach from the British period. And willy-nilly, knowing or unknowingly, we are accustomed to it. So when we start looking into people, we start looking from a divisive angle, reductionist approach, because it's not our fault. We have to change it. In the new education policy, the word, that's why the word holistic is very important. But the problem is, in the local, the common framework of the education in every subject is failing to catch it mostly. Because our experts are mostly Western oriented. It's not West's fault, but it's the fault of West toxication. West toxication, it's not my term. This term is of a JNU professor, Professor Gupta. He told many years back, and he was a communist. Multiculturalism of India does not mean that we are divided. So we can make umpteen number of states, umpteen number of regions, umpteen number of autonomous councils. Rather than that, India's multiculturalism goes with India's ethics, which Amartya Sen talks about in Argumentative Indian, that how we agree to disagree, and at the same time we have bitarko, protarko, but we don't have any so-called mayhem in the name of we will not listen to anyone. We have to listen to, and that is our culture. And that is the strength of India's multiculturalism, multiple identity. As Professor Nanda has already told, Dr. Nanda has already told about what is culture. I am not going, and I fully agree to him. I fully agree to him. The way he described. So, what is required in our media and communication studies? See, media, we need to redefine media. Professor Acharya talked very correctly that media is a system, social system. I wrote it in an international journal in 2011 that we have to redefine media. And media is now more than a technical entity, it is a social system. And when we do this definition, redefinition, and we apply it to the laws of different countries, information and media laws, then we can also include the so-called folk media, human media inside it. But what we have done actually, instead of that, we have taken the property concept. The property concept of media, I call it property concept of media, you can say political economy, so on and so forth. Because essentially that is a property concept. And if your property is disturbing me, so the government has to take a umpiring position. Now this umpire can be influenced. Why I am telling all these things in this session? Because this multiculturalism, the plurality and the media, these three are not separate actually. The media is part of culture. I am not only talking about popular culture, I am not talking about the culture of, say, being immersed in mobile phones for 20 hours in a day. No, I am not talking about that. I am talking about media has been part of our culture, propagator of our culture and continuator of our culture and modifier of our culture for so long. From the days of only oral media to and even before that, if you look into Bhimbetka, and afterwards, if you look into Sir is here, Sir worked on Ajanta, Ellora engravings, the works and its cultural communication aspect, Professor Dharulkar. So if we look into all these aspects till today and the tomorrow of media, tomorrow media will always be going hand in hand with machine communication, because media is ultimately the communications suite made. It wants to present the communication in a better way every time. And when with it comes the profit motive, then somewhere there is a disturbance. And this disturbance actually creates a fissure in the community. Because ultimately then man standard is not there, money standard is there in the society. And we can easily make people divided for that. I was listening to the Jagannath culture. I really liked it. How to dissolve the barrier at the ideational level. Why Odisha is prosperous. Though I had crisscrossed its villages, I have seen villages are in the dominant paradigm almost the same way undeveloped, but culturally not that. In the dominant paradigm undeveloped, underdeveloped, but culturally not. Because I have crisscrossed villages of Odisha. The Jagannath culture is at the ideational level, making people one so that they can never be divided. By dividing, we cannot do any good. That's why the God was conceived first as one. And still today, we have to reach that one, whether we have different worshipping ways. So what we can call in Bharat's culture is dharmic culture. There is a difference between dharma and religion. Dharma means being and becoming. It comes from the root, os, dhridhatu, kartari man pratyay. And being means ostitva, os, means existence. And religion comes from religar, which means which binds us as a community with a same way of working, same way of thinking, same way of rituals. Rishi Aurobindo worked on that very well. So I am not working again on that. The point is, we need to understand differences between the words. We need to understand how our people, as common we can call them, but as they understood it. That was the beauty, that every house of ours, from the so-called lowliest to the highest had intellectuals, but their intellectualism was anchored in a feeling that ultimately we are all together. The aporigro, the concept of aporigro in our culture. We are forgetting all this. We are forgetting all this. And so if we forget, our media would forget. Look into the new education policy has given us a chance to reinvent our own media and cultural syllabus. But what we are doing? We rather are creating sort of a pandemonium that if we don't have infrastructure, what infrastructure you require? We require. If Tagore could do it under tree, most of the brilliant ideas of the world given by India were under tree ideas. Look into Panini's grammar. Panini's grammar has taken algebraic notations for coding, which has later been taken by the computer language. Look into the Purva Mimamsa of Jaimini. We need to bring it in our syllabi, and we need to bring it in a holistic fashion, not in reductionist approach. Whenever we talk about that there should be value education, ethics education, we always talk, okay, there would be a paper. No, it's not a paper. It's a point of how we teach it, how we do it. But there are problems because most of the people working on this, they don't think in this line due to our training in other line. And in that way we cannot solve. We will gradually divide ourselves. And this division is not only bad for us. This division would be bad for the entire country. Hope will not divide. So our multiculturalism is our strength. And our media must be looking into multiculturalism from a holistic aspect, not from reductionist approach. And seeing that I am an activist means I have to be against this community or that community. No, not at all. It's very important to conceive at this juncture. Because then only this millennium would be our millennium. Our millennium means it would be of a relatively peaceful millennium for the world. But for that, we have to be the first change. Only then the entire thing can change. Thank you all.
Just to add to what questions. Media has become a career. Media has become a profession. Now media has got two sides. One is factual, one is value-based. If you want to go by values, my own thinking, my own temperament, I'll post dahi as a concoction of milk. As a degeneration of milk, I can put dahi as a subject. But if I want to show that probiotics is needed for human being, Shubh dahi, then it is called a constructive valuation. Okay. So value-based system and fact-based system. There's a conflict between the two, and it is ruled by now ideological groups who are the Maliks. And they are the people who dominate the value-based groups. And the degeneration of the media has become so bad that they have started destroying certain cultures, destroying certain relationships. Their role is to reconstruct, their role is to revive, and their role is to show the facts in the true light. As regards the culture, Mr. Chaudhary said, see our beautiful culture. Durga on tiger, Shivji on snake, Ganesh on rats and Kartik on more. It shows what? It gives a message through the gods. See, ethics was there. What is ethics? Conserve the species of human beings. Not only you should also conserve the species. Without that, the whole world is incomplete. If you give belpati, if you give tulsi patta, if you give the dhub ghas to Ganesh, make the whole world green. And we call it forestry, and environment department is supposed to teach us environment. It's there in our culture. But our fellows have never revived it, never spoken this language. They will all say that ये बैठा है पीको के ऊपर, वो बैठा है, अरे देखने उसका relation क्या है? Whenever you see any shlok on any Ahuti or any home, dhavan, तो क्या बोलते हैं? ओम पर्यावरण स्वाहा, नारायण स्वाहा, पर्यावरण स्वाहा. All this, why स्वाहा? Swaha means let they be all right. So there is always an invocation to the Almighty and the nature. So this is our culture. And it can be pluralism. See pluralism, why? Ganesh protects whom? Rats. Father is a snake. Snake eats the rats. So there is a destruction. So there is a, suppose I put them in a screen and I say Mr. Ganesh meeting Mr. Shiv. Shiv is telling, why are you, Ganesh will say, why are you killing my papa, my rats? Papa says, you mind your own business, you conserve your own rats, I will conserve my own snakes. So there is a duality of role. There is a contradiction, but contradiction exists. And the coexistence also exists. That is what we should learn from them. Questions from you? Questions? चौधरी साहब ने जो बोला उसके बारे में questions. Anyone having any question? No comment, only question. Any clarification you can ask. Anything it is in your mind. Those who are beginners, those who are freshers, probably the collegians. If your funders are not clear, get it cleared here. Yeah. You shout from there.
Yes, you shout from there.
Shouting is a part of Indian culture.
Come here.
They shout at home very well. Mother shout, say shout. Don't. Now you need not come so close. No, you don't need a mic now.
नेशनल यूनिवर्सिटी सर, जैसे कि आप एक यहाँ पर प्रस्थापन किए कि भालू नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी आया राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति जिसको हम कहते हैं, तो फिर उसी समय जैसे कि ये हम देखते हैं कि इंग्लिश हो, हिंदी हो, उड़िया हो, उसमें पीएचडी करने के लिए ज़्यादा मौका मिलता है, लेकिन मास कॉम में ऐसा होता है कि बच्चे पीजी करने के बाद आइदर वो कॉर्पोरेट सेक्टर चले जाते हैं या फिर बिजनेस सेक्टर या फिर एक मीडिया हाउस में चले जाते हैं. आज पैनलिस्ट यानी कि आप एक विशिष्ट व्यक्ति होने के नाते क्या आप जातीय शिक्षा नीति में मास कम की गवेषणा के ऊपर कुछ प्रसंग उठाना चाहेंगे, जैसे कि हम आगे जाकर पीएचडी कर सकते हैं? आप यहाँ पर तो नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी के ऊपर बात कर रहे हैं.
नंबर वन कि देखो ये जो मास कम्युनिकेशन है ना, वी आर नॉट इन मास कम्युनिकेशन एज, वी आर नाउ इन mass self communication age, because that center periphery relation between the producer and the audience has changed. पहले गलतियां को छोड़ दो, भला कि तुम्हारे टीचर को जितना भी गलती आए, जितना तुम्हें मास कम्युनिकेशन पर आए, व्हाट्सएप में तुम भी क्रिएट कर सकते हो, मैं भी क्रिएट कर सकता हूँ, हम दोनों बात कर सकते हैं, हम सबके साथ बात कर सकते हैं. सो इट्स नॉट मास कम्युनिकेशन. पहले खुद का जुबान को ठीक करो, देन यू विल डू रिसर्च. दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. This is one area in which we all need to change. We all need to change. It's communication. Mass communication is only a small part of it now. It was earlier also, but as because in industrial economies it was shown as mass communication and they sold the idea very well. So even today we are in that imperialist yoke and we say mass communication. No, it's not mass communication. It's communication part C. जिसमें मास कम्युनिकेशन उसका एक हिस्सा है, एंड द रिलेशनशिप इज दिस. तो इसका ऊपर ही तो रिसर्च होना चाहिए, और वो तो है, रिसर्च का स्कोप है. लेकिन मैं एक बताऊंगा, मेरा टीचर कैलकाटा यूनिवर्सिटी जो बताए थे कि पहले 6 से 7 वर्ष मीडिया में काम करो या फील्ड में काम करो, फील्ड एक्सपीरियंस करो. अगर उसके बाद भी तुम्हारा अंतर में रिसर्च का इच्छा है तो रिसर्च करो और कम्युनिकेशन एकेडमिक्स में आओ, तब तुम बच्चों को कुछ दे पाओगे, नहीं तो नहीं दे पाओगे. मैं इसीलिए 6 वर्ष सिविल सर्विस में काम किया था. थैंक यू.
See, I will add little bit here. What he is talking of, not mass communication anymore, not relevant. I will call it captive communication. Whatever communication is coming today is captive. सब टीवी चैनल को किसी ने कंट्रोल कर लिया, सब correspondents को किसी ने control कर लिया है. So you will always get news about someone murder, someone rape, and someone in Pakistan, someone in Putin. Beyond that, you will not know anything. So every time you are only any channel you open, you will get this. So this forcible communication on you. You don't like it, yet you will hear it. अब क्या है रास्ता? आप बंद करके भाग जाओ. किधर भागोगे? वॉक के लिए कि मजा नहीं आएगा, गर्मी है. So these are the issues. So communication is becoming now distorted. Any other point? Then we shift to Mr. Aram. Hi, koi?
Sir, you said reductionist approach started during British era. Don't you think this reductionist approach started much earlier? And this was the reason we were defeated at the hands of alien forces?
See, in education, there is a difference between reductionist approach and holistic approach. This reductionist approach basically came with the Macaulayan concept of education, where he wanted that we Indians will forget our everything and we will always say good morning, not Suprabhat. And we will feel that all those things of theirs is the best. This is the reductionist approach. Now you are talking about defeat. See, if there are two parties, one will be defeated, another will be getting. So defeat is not always defeatist. Mentality becomes defeatist. We were not defeated. The proof is, till 1800 AD, the world's greatest economic historians say, India was world's topmost GDP country. And in Bengal, now we in Bengal are in very bad shape. We were providing more than 45% of entire GDP of India. So, we were not defeated. And people came here because we are attractive. We attracted. And despite 200 years of onslaught, we again talk about it. Means we have high hope. But for that, we have to go from reductionist approach to holistic approach. आधा सोच के decide मत करो खुद का जीवन में भी. Thank you.
See, I would like all of youngsters to see any news channel of Singapore or what do you call the Al Jazeera or German DW as to how Ukrainian citizens, including mothers, including wives, including daughters, are rebuilding the nation after Russian bombing within 4 days. वहाँ कोई theory of reductionism or voluntarism or state dependencyism नहीं चलता है. I really salute those people. A lady left her husband and children and joined the army to see that not an inch of land should go to Russians. Such are great countries. They are the biggest supplier of wheat in the whole world. They are the biggest supplier also of the chips in the world next to Taiwan. And what Mr. Chaudhary said, that why Macaulay wanted to do, Macaulay was flabbergasted at the fact that the Indian Sanskrit scholars are so big that if they start doing it, they will become the world's biggest power. Because they had science in that, they had religion in that, they had everything in that. Everything was scientific in Sanskrit. And everything was language was coded in Sanskrit. So they said that if at all we want to bring them down, start with zero. And bring them down to Macaulay system where they will say A means what, B means what. They will forget the entire first stream of life. That is exactly what they did. Of course, we have gained in the process, we have got into services because of English also. Let me say that we are a beneficiary. It's not that I will be ungrateful to what I have got. But if you ask me the theory, they did it because of envy, jealousy, competition. It is all a colonial power. See, remember the Western powers, unlike Indians, they think 30 years in advance. And I have got not concrete proofs. COVID was conspired 5 years before. Vaccine was invented 3 years before. What you saw on the television was nothing but today. That is exactly what I am trying to say. We Indians, we believe, देखा सपना देखा क्या देखा सपना देखे जो बोला कि सपना देखा मीन्स उसका कुछ रीजन होगा वो तुमको बताता है सपना देखा वो नहीं सोचते हैं क्यों मेरे को बोला सपना देखा, तुम जाकर बोलोगे सपना देखा. Sapna is an instrument of making and of colonizing your mind.
There is only one point in it. See, within 6 to 8 years, our brain cells are almost 80 to 90% developed. And we actually are strong in imageries and creativity. If within this period, what we experience around us, that is being there, and that is done based in your mother tongue. So that's why these regional tongues are given this.
Good afternoon, the chairperson Nandaji, distinguished panelists, and eminent audience. And when you talk about unity in, when you talk about cultural diversity, that means we essentially talk about acceptance of diversity. Whether it's a minor ethno-religious community or a suppressed caste or a particular cringe political ideology, we have the mentality to accept that and accept one among that and move ahead. That is what we talk about diversity. You see that diversity, this media, this is diversity. Our probably is the wheel of life, round features and diverse activity. That is what is diversity. That essentially the diversity, we are able to accept it and appreciate it. Now, even if it's not, that means that we have cultural relativity rather than ethnocentricity. And taking up from the Frankfurt School, which took the economic aspect of Marxism much further to culture, media, and rest of the spheres. It basically talks about media owners are part of the ruling elite. And they manipulate to transmit conservative culture. They want to maintain the status quo and to maintain wealth and prestige. The media owners transmit their culture through the media. That is understood. And I want to say that because all the while that media scholars have been talking about Frankfurt School and the later phase of the Frankfurt School scholar, the political economic scholar, has to say that Graham Murdoch has this to say: the age of digital media is also the age of marketization, which has seen governments selling public-owned communication resources and retreating from regulating corporations in the public interest. The result has been a massive consolidation of control over the direction of technological development in the hands of the ruling corporations. The billionaire owners of the major digital platforms are presented as the new feudal lords, exercising total personal control over their domains and relegating users to the status of serfs. And again, I said the present day political economic scholar. Now he is talking about the language which is stopped using, but which is still prevalent. The landlord versus serf. And again, the caste stratified country like India. We are celebrating diversity, celebrating pluralism. Even in the academic world, I can say one thing, that suppose in my university, it's one of the best universities, no doubt, but some scholar says that scholar from some metallurgy department or discipline he or she does not know. He is a eminent scholar or eminent scientist. Then I like to think that these two people must be of same caste. Invariably mostly that they will be from the same caste. From the same caste, they promote intellectuality to another scholar. This is a sort of society we are living in. The caste stratified society, and the several stratification even among the educated is true. In such a society that we need to respect, at least as a professional, all shades of people. At least as professional. We may be castes, we may be marrying into the same caste, wearing into the same religion, but as a professional, we should be able to accept others as the respect for what they are. And probably 4 decades ago, Times of India newsroom in Mumbai, they had a discussion whether media should cover all aspects of the society, whether Dharavi slums should be part of their news. The answer was no. Because from what we teach in the newsroom, media should cover all aspects of the society. What is practiced in the media is that we will cover our audience, our readers, and our advertisers. That they are our constituency, not the whole interest which our freedom fighters would have talked about. And the same internationally, the trend has been advocated and promoted by Rupert Murdoch, who bought many of the media, including Fox Television. And he is today compared with William Hayes, who is in the turn of the 20th century and who is associated with a yellow journalism. Because in the term when people are going to war for colonization and all sort of sensational news was published. But we are in the postmodernist era, we are reviving that in some sort of news thing. And normatively, how the media should be. And I will talk how in terms of media freedom and also in terms of, media plurality is something. For instance, media freedom, we think that to provide a platform for self-expression. Sometimes when we talk about media freedom, we may not even talk about accountability. But as part of media pluralism, reflecting the plurality of voices without misrepresentation. And as part of media freedom, to provide citizen access to information, but as part of the media pluralism by various available sources, presenting a wide variety of viewpoints. And not just issue has two sides, it has multiple sides. And to foster public debate and deliberation between all groups in the society, not just selective groups. And when in the present day era, that when the social media emerged and we don't even have gatekeepers. One of the best thing about the social media is that it can allow the people whose voices were not hitherto heard to put their views in the social media and make them heard. So we talk about agenda setting through social media. There is even reverse agenda setting. Media has to take what they are so far relegated certain viewpoints. But also comes to the fake news with Google, which they once considered as we are media, we are not independent platform, we are not taking sides, but when people take sides, then fake news comes, they also take notice of it. And alternate views get dominant in media. Sometimes the alternate views which are not appreciated by the dominant people is also relegated as fake news. In fact, sometimes what goes viral is because of the lack of understanding of the people or lack of very cranky brains. For instance, there can be a honor killing, but people make video photograph, may put it as that religious conversion, some girl has been killed, that sort of thing also that. And in the recent thing that there is a Shaukar Shankar, he was a popular YouTuber and about talking about the governments, even the ruling party, opposition party, through some intelligence source, he gets the news, he was giving it. And recent thing, he had said something about the Supreme Court. It's the Supreme Court, not so necessarily Supreme Court, the courts are riddled with corruption. Judges are riddled with corruption. Then the Madurai bench of the High Court ordered arrest of him. Rightly and quickly, the Supreme Court said that the arrest should not have been made. It's a wrong thing. And one of the famous lawyers and who has very good credibility, he has this to say about that arrest. It is wrong, it is counterproductive, it is in violation of principles of natural justice. This is what Prashant Bhushan has to say it. People are entitled to do what Shankar did. Everyone knows that there is considerable corruption in judiciary. Saying something like this, in my view, does not amount to contempt of the court, because the Madurai bench of the Madras High Court said that it's contempt of the court and ordered arrest. The judge who has some interest in the matter in dealing with it, when he ought not to have dealt with it, he should have refused. The order does not read well or augur well for the judiciary. Such sharp things he has said it, a famous lawyer who has much credibility. And in fact, in the 75 years of independence, we are celebrating, but we should all agree, if we are truthful to ourselves, that space for dissent is shrinking. That's very unfortunate. whether academics have the courage to take it up. And in fact, I will say the two incidents of it in 2001, and there was that time DMK was out of power in Tamil Nadu. There's a rally which was happened and it went through the Marina. And in that rally, along with the police officers, along with the gundas, people came with sickle and even attacked the mob. Journalists were attacked, women journalists were molested, and as part of the union activism, I was the vice president of the Madras Union of Journalists, and 8 of us joined and went to court. It's a former Home Minister Chidambaram took up the case without any money, and finally, I was also in the last day of the hearing when Mr. Chidambaram represented, and case was kept on delaying. It came in the first court. He said, this is a serious case involving journalists. The freedom of press is at stake. Your Lordship should issue immediate orders. And immediately orders were issued, compensation should be paid. But did the government give compensation? Couple of weeks later, Tahsildar came along with all his staff to my house. The same time, they went to all the people who filed the case, all the signatories. They said, you have filed the case, you show where is your house, any damage is there. I have filed the case as a public interest on behalf of my brethren as a union leader. And they want to assume as intimidating, threatening even the people who filed the case. So much so that the journalists who were affected, who were beaten up and who were severely injured, they did not even have courage to claim the compensation. So you say that how the space for dissent is being suppressed. And I will talk about the 2017 Jallikattu, and which some people will consider as a jamboree, some people will consider as a social movement. But everybody took notice of. And Jallikattu was denied based on an international organization, PETA, the animal rights organization, which credibility itself was under question. And then people protested. Some people gathered and many gathered. It is a suppressed emotions. All shades of the people gathered. Even conservative mothers sent their children to go and stay in the night. And many people gave food and other things. And entire family stayed put in the Marina. But media supported it. Media triggered that Jallikattu protest. But the moment the government took a stand that we want to suppress it, slowly mainstream media withdrew the news and stopped publishing news. And social media was curtailed. Internet was cut. And so even mainstream media sometimes beyond a level the courage is now lacking. And the celebration of, so Jawaharlal Nehru, our first Prime Minister, has this to say: Indianness is a matter of feeling, a dream, a vision and an emotion. We have come together as a same country. It's a feeling of dream, a vision and an emotion. And it's a very complex, even talking about the history is very complex. This is I have a strong connection with Odisha. My father was a linguistic anthropologist. He wrote the dictionary for the Kuvi language. See, coming and sitting and staying alone in the mountains under a hut without no doors or no walls. And he used to write the dictionary of the Kuvi language. That is a language which belongs to our family of Tamil family of language. And whether it's controversial or not, what his feeling is that over a period of time, the Oriya people have lost their Dravidian language, but the people who have moved up the hill still retain the Dravidian language. And so there is a unity in diversity. Instead of saying that who is great, who is thing, we should be able to appreciate the others. Cultural pluralism as part of our national identity is in tandem with the notion of inclusive growth. We should not exclude any group. We should be able to include others. Instead of talking the language, every day we talk the language, if you carefully do a thematic analysis, us versus them. We are them, we like to relegate, we like to sterilize. Somebody is taking a protest against, because cancer is spreading, we suppress them by shooting, this sort of thing. To suggest that the Indianness, irrespective of their historical, geographical and cultural moorings, must adopt one culture, threatens our spirit of coexistence. It's not unity in uniformity, but unity in diversity. And in fact, we have a peace journalist approach. If you take that instead of elitism, covering only the elite, we should cover the people-oriented stories. Instead of difference-oriented stories, we should cover areas of agreement. And instead of dichotomizing good and bad, that is a Victorian approach. There is no different shades of good, different shades of bad. It's only that extreme thing, not a continuum. Avoid labels of good guys and bad guys. Instead of partition coverage, that non-partition coverage should be there. And one thing to conclude, pluralism is the most widely accepted interpretation of a democratic society, providing equal opportunity for development to people at individual and collective levels. Individual and collective levels, there should be scope for development. If you take empirical studies of media pluralism, it may lead to controversial outcomes depending on the perspective one takes. Already a perspective one takes us versus them, not an inclusive approach. The premise itself is wrong, research will take a wrong stand. To become a state, people need to have a common political legal system. A nation calls for a shared value system, not necessarily of one language, one culture, or one religion. Media should serve the nation building process, transcending the narrow boundaries. What Rabindranath Tagore says, that we should go beyond the national narrow boundaries. That's where the country will have a bright future. Well, the last I would like to say is that if really the media pluralism has to be there, that the society is fragmented on different lines. That fragmentation and the profile of the newsroom should also reflect the different shades of the society. Only then the media pluralism will be there. I'll say a simple instance of, I was in Australia, that Sydney Morning Herald, they consciously recruit even Aborigines because they want the Aboriginal viewpoint also to get reflected in the media. Thank you.
Presentation which you did, keep your questions in your mind, please.
Thank you,
We want the
Nandaji.
other speaker to take up so that we can have it together.
In Banaras, there is a Kashi and Tamil Sangamam going on, and here in Bhubaneswar, we have a very nice Sangam of ideas of media pluralism and cultural synthesis. Let me start with a Sanskrit sloka. Asatoma sadgamaya, tamasoma jyotirgamaya, mrityurma amritam gamaya. This is a sloka from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. What does it mean? It has a revelation. It has a final truth. It presents in a very interesting manner. इस श्लोक में कहा गया है कि मैं जो अज्ञान के ऊपर ज्ञान का विजय प्रस्तावित करना चाहता हूं, मैं अंधेरा से निकलकर प्रकाश में एक विवेक पर्व में जाना चाहता हूं, और आखिर में कहा है मैं मृत्यु के ऊपर अजिंक्य बनने के लिए, विश्व विजय होने के लिए मैं जो है अमृत का स्वीकार करता हूं। ये भारत में ज्ञान को अमृत के समान उपमा दी गई है। नॉलेज हैज बीन ट्रीटेड एज ए सुप्रीम पावर। हमारे ऋग्वेद में लिखा है, उसमें लिखा है प्रजापताय स्वाहा, प्रजापताय इदम नमः, अग्नेय स्वाहा, अग्नेय इदम नमः, इंद्राय स्वाहा, इंद्राय इदम नमः, सूर्याय स्वाहा, सूर्याय इदम नमः। मैं सूर्य को समर्पित करता हूं, मैं अग्नि को समर्पित करता हूं, मैं प्रजापति को समर्पित करता हूं, मैं स्वयं से समाज के लिए समर्पित होता हूं। That is the true revelation of society and pluralism. When I studied Ajanta and Ellora chaos, my thesis is a total revelation of ideas of philosophy, architecture, sociology, anthropology. The beginning of my thesis like this. The various knowledge that sprouts up and reveals truly the social milieu and cultural ethos of the life of the bygone days. हम यदि अजंता एलोरा की गुफाएं को तराशते हैं, इनका समझते हैं, तो उसमें जो है एक अंतिम ज्ञान का सत्य प्रतीत होता है। वो ज्ञान है जीवन का पूर्णत्व। जैसे कि कहा जाता है भारत में 64 कलाएं मानते हैं, उसमें कलाओं के उद्देश्य क्या है? ज्ञान, सौंदर्य और विवेक। ज्ञान के सिवाय सौंदर्य नहीं, सौंदर्य के सिवाय विवेक नहीं है। ये तीनों एक दूसरे से मिलते हैं, और that is the very essence of our art. The whole Indian art, maybe Hindu art, Buddhist art, Jain art, lead to the process of Indianism. भारतीयकरण की प्रक्रिया उसमें आती है गांधी जी के विचारों का निचोड़ क्या है, दीनदयाल जी के विचारों का निचोड़ क्या है, पंडित राम मनोहर लोहिया जी के विचारों का निचोड़ क्या है। आज हम राइट लेफ्ट में जुड़े हैं, उसमें हम डिवाइड होते हैं। इन्हीं का इंटीग्रेटेड ह्यूमैनिज्म, मनुष्य का संपूर्ण विकास, यही कहता है हमारा ईशावास्य उपनिषद, मनुष्य का पूर्ण विकास। जब गांधी जी अफ्रीका में थे तो उन्होंने पूछा मुझे पढ़ने के लिए चाहिए, उन्हें थोरो का और उपनिषदास किताब दिया गया, और पढ़कर उन्होंने ईशावास्य उपनिषद सत्याग्रह की कल्पना का विकास किया। तो यह प्रतीत होता है, व्हाट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट इज दैट इज द सत्याग्रह, दैट इज द ट्रुथ, ट्रुथ इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। गीता में लिखा है नयनम छिदन्ति शस्त्राणि नयनम देहति पावका, बॉडी इज पेरिशेबल बट सोल इज इमॉर्टल, दैट इज द एसेंस कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्य मा फलेषु कदाचन। उसमें हम जो है विनाश, दुर्गुणों का विनाश करना चाहते हैं, सद्गुणों को प्रस्थापित करना चाहते हैं। यही मीडिया का रोल है। मीडिया हैज टू प्यूरिफाई द सोसाइटी। हम कहते हैं टू इन्फॉर्म, टू एजुकेट, टू एंटरटेन, टू एडवर्टाइज, बट टुडे इज अ मार्केट ड्रिवन मीडिया। दैट शुड बी आइडिया ड्रिवन मीडिया, नॉलेज ड्रिवन मीडिया। ज्ञान के आधारित संस्कृति है हमारी। केवल बाजार पे चलित माध्यमों की आवश्यकता नहीं है, हमें आवश्यकता है मूल्यवर्धित माध्यमों की। ऐसे मूल्यवर्धित माध्यम हमारे समाज को, हमारे देश को आगे ले जाने वाले। बाबा साहेब अम्बेडकर जी ने जब कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन आर्टिकल 19(1) में फ्रीडम ऑफ एक्सप्रेशन दिया है, उसमें केवल समाचार पत्रों का स्वातंत्र्य नहीं, आजादी नहीं है, समूचे आशय अभिव्यक्ति की आजादी है। बाबा साहब कहते थे कि मीडिया क्या है। उन्होंने अपने मराठी पत्र मूक नायक बहिष्कृत भारत में लिखा है, संचार के माध्यम केवल विज्ञापन के साधन नहीं है, वे आदमी लोगों को मूर्ख बनाने के लिए साधन नहीं है। बराबर 100 साल पहले जब मूक नायक का पहला अंक निकला था 31 जनवरी 1920, बराबर है शेखर, एम आई राइट? तो उसमें उन्होंने लिखा था, आजवर आमच्यावर झालेल्या आणि पुढे होणाऱ्या दलितांच्यावरील अत्याचारांना मुखर करण्यासाठी हे पत्र काढलेले आहे. दिस इज अ न्यूजपेपर विच हैव ओपन्ड टू मेक ए नायक ऑफ द मूकी पीपल, दोज हु आर डफ एंड डम, उनके लिए मैं वॉइस देना चाहता हूं. तो उनका जो समाचार पत्र है बहिष्कृत भारत, उसमें लिखते हैं, उजाडले पण स्वातंत्र्य कुठे, कोणासाठी स्वातंत्र्य, कोणाच्या अंगणामध्ये स्वातंत्र्य, कोणाच्या अंगणामध्ये चांदणे, दैट मीन्स फ्रीडम फॉर होम. तो मतलब यह होता है कि हमारी आजादी इस मनुष्य के आखिरी के मनुष्य तक होनी चाहिए. इसीलिए दीनदयाल जी उपाध्याय ने जब उन्होंने कालीकत के एक अधिवेशन में भाषण किया था, उन्होंने कहा था, राजा हो या राव हो, रंक हो, अमीर हो या गरीब हो, सब व्यक्ति तक आजादी का प्रकाश पहुंचना चाहिए, विकास के फल वहां तक जाने चाहिए. प्राचुर्य, चातुर्य और माधुर्य, व्हाट इज द एसेंस ऑफ गीता? दैट इज प्राचुर्य, चातुर्य एंड माधुर्य. इसके विकास के मधुर फल सामान्य मनुष्य तक पहुंचना, यह हमारा स्वप्न है. यह सपना साकार करने के लिए हमारी 3 स्टेट काम कर रहे हैं, एग्जीक्यूटिव काम कर रहा है, जुडिशरी काम कर रहे हैं, लेजिस्लेचर काम कर रहा है, मीडिया 4th स्टेट है, वो भी काम कर रहा है, उसका भी काम करना होगा. और 5th स्टेट हम कहते हैं कि ब्रॉडकास्टिंग इज द 5th स्टेट, सोशल मीडिया इज द 6th स्टेट. लेकिन ये सभी स्टेट का कर्तव्य क्या है? ग्रेटेस्ट टू अचीव ग्रेटेस्ट हैप्पीनेस इन ग्रेटेस्ट नंबर, दैट इज द ट्रू वेलफेयर स्टेट. कल्याणकारी राज्य का आदर्श क्या है? अंतिम लक्ष्य क्या है? अधिक लोगों का अधिक कल्याण करना. अधिक लोगों का अधिकतम कल्याण साध्य तब हो जाएगा जब हमारे एग्जीक्यूटिव, जुडिशियरी, लेजिस्लेचर के साथ साथ हमारा मीडिया भी कंधे पे कंधा मिलाकर काम कर रहा है, तब होगा. डॉक्टर एपीजे अब्दुल कलाम का एक आर्टिकल है, मीडिया एंड नेशनल डेवलपमेंट, द हिंदू में पब्लिश हुआ था 2006 में. उसमें उन्होंने लिखा है, मीडिया शुड बी ट्रूली द व्हीकल ऑफ नेशनल डेवलपमेंट, इट शुड शेयर द फ्रूट्स ऑफ डेवलपमेंट टू द लोएस्ट कॉमन मैन. ये हम कर रहे हैं? नहीं करते हैं. अपने इंडिया 2020 ग्रंथ में एपीजे अब्दुल कलाम साहब पेज 135 पे लिखते हैं, वी हैव टू क्रिएट द आइलैंड्स ऑफ क्वालिटी एजुकेशन, द नूक एंड कॉर्नर ऑफ द कंट्री, दैट इज द सोल ऑफ आवर न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी, ट्रांसफॉर्मिंग इंडिया. जैसे कि मैं कहूंगा, हमारे पार्टी जी का जो मीडिया सेंटर है, इट इज ए ट्रू आइलैंड ऑफ क्वालिटी एजुकेशन. अनलेस और अनटिल वी ट्रांसफॉर्म, गैल्वनाइज द सेंटर्स ऑफ एजुकेशन टू एक्सेलेंस मीडिया. हम किट के कैंपस में है, सामंत जी मेरे अच्छे मित्र हैं, उन्होंने बहुत बढ़िया एक आइलैंड ऑफ क्वालिटी एजुकेशन बनाया. अनलेस एंड अनटिल वी ट्रांसफॉर्म दिस क्वालिटी सेंटर्स, रविन्द्रनाथ टैगोर जी कहते हैं, एजुकेशन इज नॉट ओनली डेजलिंग ऑफ आइडियाज, इट इज ए ग्लू ऑफ मॉरलिटी एंड इथिक्स. यू शुड इवॉल्व इट, डेवलप इट. in a righteous manner. टैगोर जी ने जब अजंता एलोरा की गुफाएं देखी थी, उन्होंने लिखा था, communication through stones is more effective than that of communication through books. When volumes of books cannot speak of culture, then a single sculpture can speak about the culture. इसीलिए गीत गाया पत्थरों ने. इसीलिए मैं कहता हूं कि हमें जो है वैल्यू इनकलकेशन को इंपॉर्टेंस देना चाहिए. मूल्यों के संक्रमण को हमने महत्व देना चाहिए. मूल्यों को संक्रमण का हम जब महत्व देंगे, तब हम कितने भी दुनिया में संघर्ष हो गए तो भारत सबसे आगे रहेगा. बाली जो भारत में कौंडिन्य ऋषि पहले गए थे, कौंडिन्य ऋषि 700 ऋषियों में से एक थे कि हिंद सागर क्रॉस करके गए, इंडोनेशिया में गए, बाली में गए, वहां श्री विजय का राज्य स्थापन किया. श्री विजय रूल इन शैलेंद्र रूल ऑफ श्री विजय, जॉन एफ केडी की किताब है, कहता है ट्रेड एंड कल्चर वाज अ मैटर ऑफ पैरेलल इन्फ्लुएंस टू एशियन हिस्ट्री. डीजी हॉल लिखते हैं, Aryans wrote Rigveda in the Gangetic Valley. That was a new cultural awakening. Because earlier the Aryans were, then become the agriculture, became the prima culture. ऋग्वेद लिखने के पहले आर्य मौसाहार करते थे, लेकिन जब उन्होंने ऋग्वेद लिखा तो गंगा में एक पहली कृषि क्रांति हो गई. और इसी के साथ अर्नोल्ड टॉयनबी ने 12 संस्कृतियों का अध्ययन किया, 12 वॉल्यूम्स लिखे, 24 संस्कृतियों का अध्ययन किया. आखिर के निचोड़ में लिखता है अर्नोल्ड टॉयनबी, देयर इज अ चैलेंज एंड रिस्पॉन्स थियरी, द सुपीरियर कल्चर डोमिनेट्स द इंफीरियर वन. There are only two cultures surviving in the world. One is the Indian culture, another is the Chinese culture. टॉयनबी लिखते हैं, there are two ways. One is the way of destruction, another is the way of construction. The West is giving the way of destruction. रशिया यूक्रेन पे हमला कर रहा है क्योंकि उसके पास कहता है कि मेरे सबसे बड़ा एटॉमिक पावर है. अब हम देखते हैं साम्राज्य सत्ताओं का सन सेट हो रहा है. The sun never used to set for England, but it is now setting. अब देखते हैं चाइना का डिक्लाइन हो रहा है, अमेरिका का डिक्लाइन हो रहा है. प्रोफेसर पॉल कैनेडी ने 2006 में किताब लिखा है, डिक्लाइन ऑफ सुपर पावर्स. देयर इज नो सुपर पावर थियरी एग्जिस्ट टुडे बिकॉज द सुपर पावर्स आर डिक्लाइनिंग. America is declining, China is declining, Russia is declining, and who is emerging? That is India is emerging as a विश्व गुरु. बाली के कॉन्फ्रेंस में महामहिम प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कहा, we are a super power and we are emerging, but India is not going to rule others. स्वामी जी विवेकानंद ने लिखा था, शिकागो कॉन्फ्रेंस में बोला था, India is going to rule the world, not only on the basis of religion and culture, but on the basis of science and technology. विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिकी के साथ हम दुनिया के ऊपर राज करने वाले हैं. उन्होंने लिखा था निचोड़ के तौर में, सब दुनिया के मजहब में एक ही एसेंस है, ह्यूमैनिटी. दुनिया में एक ही एसेंस है, विश्व बंधुत्व, यूनिवर्सल ब्रदरहुड. दुनिया में एक ही एसेंस है, सब दुनिया का कल्याण. इसी को लेकर बाली में भारत ने मैसेज दिया है दुनिया को. दुनिया को यदि बदलना है तो भारत के आध्यात्म के ऊपर से बदलना होगा, भारत के फिलोसफी से बदलना होगा. हमारी मीडिया की फिलोसफी ऋग्वेद लिखता है, नमूलम लिख्यन्ति यद्यपि, इफ देयर इज नो रूट देन डू नॉट राइट. समाज स्वास्थ्येन संवाद, कम्युनिकेशन शुड बी फॉर द बेटर हेल्थ ऑफ सोसाइटी. हमारा संवाद जो है समाज के स्वास्थ्य के लिए होना चाहिए. मैंने आजकल एक स्टडी शुरू की है, हेरोग्राफी स्टडी ऑन रामायण एंड महाभारत. There are two places of birthplace of Valmiki. Valmiki was a Bhil. He born in a Balur city of Parvani in Marathwada, my region. Another Balkheda city in Chalisgaon, now way of Chalisgaon to Patas. I went there, interviewed a age-old lady of 95 years who was serving in the temple of Valmiki. And she said, Valmiki is alive in my heart. I am maintained clean, most clean temple I have maintained because of Valmiki is living in my heart. When Valmiki was enlightened, and after enlightenment, he served Sita. He served two kids of Rama, Lava and Kush, fed them, developed them. And then he saw the Uttar Ramayana, Uttarakhand, and Valmiki recasted the whole Ramayana. He witnessed, he participated, he involved, shared the agony of Rama. Rama was a great champion of Indian justice. Who made him? Only the poor people, only the nomadic people. And the study, the horographic study of Ramayana, which I am conducting now, and writing a superb novel on Valmiki, it reveals that the truth lies in the manifestation of human values. Human values have been manifested in Mahabharata and Ramayana. After his delivery, last point, Maharshi Vyas was asked by the Pandits of Banaras, what is the essence of Mahabharata? He said, "Na manushyam kimapi asti." Nothing is more important than mankind. Media should also understand this. We have to believe that humanity is the essence of religion, culture and science and technology. आओ हम सब मिलकर हाथ बढ़ाए, इस धरती पर स्वर्ग बनाए हम. जय हिंद, जय भारत.
Any questions? Because we have got
We have to wind up by next 10 minutes. Questions, 2-3 questions you may ask both for our Aramji and also for Dharukar. Now I just wanted to tell you one thing. Is there any question?
Yes, sir.
Ha.
Good afternoon, everyone present here. I'm Vaishnavi Pandey. I'm Kalinga School of Mass Communication. I'm first semester student. So my question is to Professor Chaudhary. How can media address the issues and how can media address the issues and questions of culture mainstreaming at a time when state tries to promote a singular and majorization culture in the name of cultural unification?
Yes. You have your own answer. You have your own answer. But in your own answer, own answer, you have asked another question. The question is your own perception of majoritarianism. Please look into it. You will get your answer whether you are right or wrong. Thank you.
Jai Hind to you all. I am Pratham Tripathi. I am the first year student of the Mass Communication and School of Mass Communication KIT. Sir, my question is not particularly to any of the panelists over there, but in general. That is, when we look at the various media conglomerates presently in India, they are being run by business houses represented by the so-called upper class and upper caste people. So my question is, like most of the media conglomerates are run by the upper caste honchos. In such a media ecosystem, how can we think of adequate and appropriate representation of communities that have been neglected, marginalized, and what about the media diversity in this kind of a scenario? Thank you, sir.
It's a very, very difficult thing you are asking, because you know the Baniyas and the Jains. I should not mention it, but since you mentioned who is upper class, the Baniyas and the Jains are basically the owners of all the corporates, whether it's meat trade, meat export, beef export, or the news export. That is media. Now they have got their own circle, semicircles, and their pentagon relations. Now that relationship they take, it's a both-way communication. It's not a one-way house. They've got advantages. And that is the reason you are hearing also the word nowadays oligarchs in the Russian context. So oligarchs in Russia, the petroleum people or the oil people in America, and the other lobby in different parts of the world. It's a common thing which is happening. Question is that it is the only people who can set them right is the public. Mark has to come up now.
Sir, media education plays a vital role in changing the profile of the media workers. Here are my 5 to 6 students with me. Most of them, they are from scheduled caste, scheduled tribes and weaker sections. Out of the 30-40 students, 21 students because scheduled caste, scheduled tribes are my PhD students, and they are working as a bureau chief of a big Baniya house like Bhaskar. Here is a young chap, Shekhar Magar, who is the bureau chief of reporting of Daily Bhaskar. And he is working ably since last 10 years. 16 years he is working in that system. So this is the example. One of a Tanda boy has become professor in University of Pune. And he came to me. He studied media. Then he became a master of media education. He is now teaching media. So when you involve, persuade and transform, in the weakest of the weak can be strongest of the strong. But you have to infuse a spirit in that. That living spirit, if you make it alive, then he can become a master and he can move the world. Thank you very much.
That's the point I concluded. The diversity in the society, the fragmentation in the society, that should be reflected in the newsroom. But one point I want to add is that when people from the suppressed groups come up, sometimes they assimilate with the mainstream. They lose their identity. They should be able to assert their identity. That is one thing. And another thing, I go to the fundamental of the Indian society, that most societies to become a developing from the developing society or underdeveloped society to the developed society, they have left the feudal values. Still, we have not left our feudal value of caste system. For instance, in the British society, something similar to caste system. You have the name of David Cobbler, David Baker, David Cook. One must be cook, one must be cobbler, the traditional occupation. But after the industrialization, they have left that. Today, India is a world power, definitely is a soft power in the world because our population is great, more than 1.3. On the other hand, vast majority of the people, vast majority of a rural population, we still keep in feudal subjugation. That should change. And what efforts we are taking to do that? At one point of time, people marrying into the same caste should change. Because in the case, caste-based occupation have been lost. And when different castes are occupying all sort of occupation, why we cling on to a oppressive backward system? That should change. Otherwise, if we not change, even if it doesn't change, when they come to the public life, they should keep back their feudal values, their negative ideas, their sectarian ideas, and able to relate with others with cultural relativism. Thank you.
Thank you.
He has taken, I have just one take on that. इसको अलग से देखिए, मैं हिंदी में बोल रहा हूँ क्योंकि अंग्रेजी से हिंदी और बांग्ला में आने का टाइम हो गया, उड़िया में भी तमिल में भी आने का, तो मैं बंगाली होके भी बोल रहा हूँ, वही मैं जानता हूँ. इसको अलग से देखिए. इन लोग का जो कंटेंट है, राम जन्मभूमि, रामायण फ्रॉम वाल्मीकि, जैसे सर ने बोला, इतने सारे नैरेटिव्स जो है, अगर उसको आप ठीक से प्ले कर पाएंगे तो देखेंगे कि वो सब कुछ मिला के ही चल रहा है. थैंक यू.
We actually have run out of time and we cannot take any more questions. So I'm
Correct. Now we wind up the intersession. My only one small point to all of you is that please read a book recently published by Rajiv Malhotra called The Snakes in the Ganges. Name is Snakes in the Ganges. What does it mean? Snakes means evil force. Ganges means is something good. Ganges does not actually, there is nothing called Ganges. Ganga river का कुछ लेना देना नहीं है. Ganges is a Syrian ideal concept. Which says that the foreign powers, when they came to India, they start attacking the two things. One, family. They wanted to undercut the India's biggest foundation is family. So they said family is nothing but suppression of freedom. And number two is that the Varna system. Actually, this scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, ये problem नहीं था 500 years before में. कभी नहीं था. वर्ना सिस्टम जब हुआ, जाति सिस्टम पहले था, अभी वर्ना में आ गया. एंड टुडे व्हेन वी आर टॉकिंग ऑल इंक्लूडिंग पाढ़ी साहब जब बोलते हैं हम विश्वगुरु बनेंगे, सपना कैसा आया? सपना इसीलिए आया कि आप लोगों में से कुछ लोगों जाकर सिलिकॉन वैली में काम किए, डॉलर भेजे, रुपये नहीं भेजे, डॉलर भेजे. और एवरीवेयर इन होल पार्ट ऑफ द वर्ल्ड बिगिनिंग फ्रॉम टेक्नोलॉजी, स्पेस टू एयरक्राफ्ट, यू पीपल स्टार्टेड डोमिनेटिंग. यू आर विजिबल. Earlier, after, before Manmohan Singh 90s, you were never visible. You were all in cocoons. Once you started going out, flying out, worshipping, talking, and impressing people, people started recognizing you. And then India has started doing well. And they will start doing well also for future. And that is the reason one of my friends, who is from Assam cadre, he has written a thesis. I don't know whether it will be contested. He says the Jews in the world and the Aryans in India, they belong to same blood. It is contested. Jews. But he says that because Indians they stayed together, they could not develop because each started fighting. Jews were fallen apart everywhere. In Poland, in Israel, in Australia. Therefore they did well. And that is true probably because when Indians are in America, they are doing well. Where Indians are in Bhubaneswar, they are not doing well. I think that could be also reason. When we go out, we do very well. Why? When we are inside our society, we cannot do well or we are not doing well. That's our track record. Anyway, we say, end this session. I'm sure the pluralism, media, culture, all have given a nice cleaning process in your mind to start with.
We cannot take any more questions. We have to wrap up the session now.
And our next session will start, and just as a moderator, I'm just wrapping up the talks by all the eminent speakers today. Dr. Askananda, he focused on the following points. He said that cultural pluralism is a conglomeration of all ideas and systems of beliefs. Secondly, he said that the war of Russia and Ukraine doesn't represent cultural pluralism. He further said that a journalist can click and publish a photo of a naked woman, but it can ask difficult questions about pluralism and ethics. Professor Bipin Chaudhary, he said that Professor Chaudhary raised questions about our background, like who we are and where we origin from. A very interesting term quoted by Professor Chaudhary was toxification. And he further said that media is a social system and we have to redefine media. He said that media is a part of the culture and villages on dominant paradigm are underdeveloped but culturally not. Dr. Arun said that when we talk about the diversity, we talk about the acceptance of diversity. He further said that the age of media is also the age of multiplication. What media scholars think is that the focus should be on evidence, responsiveness, and not covering politically, and he differentiated between media pluralism and media freedom. Agenda setting through the social media and media institute covering whose the issues cover all the parts and systems of the society. Lastly, Professor B.A. Narukar, he said that we started with the quotes from Rig Veda, and he also talked about the mysterious caves of Ajanta and Ellora. He said that it depicts the truth of our origin. Today, he further said that today it's a market-driven media, but it should be an idea-driven media, and we should give highest importance to the value of location. And lastly, he focused on the points that Prime Minister Narendra said in Bali conference that India is becoming a superpower, but India will not do any other country. So with that, I would like to come to the end of Plenary session 1, and now that as a wonderful session has come to a logical conclusion, I consider it completed upon me to thank all the speakers and you all that are attending the discourse, and thank you all for such a wonderful audience. Have a wonderful time. Retired IS. Dr.